Okay, in my last video I discussed a little bit about what criteria is necessary for me to consider someone a biker. Like I said, that even that discussion is a very opinionated subject, so everybody's going to have a different answer on that subject. And just the same, this particular subject that I'm going to cover today is just as opinionated. There's some conversation going on about what the difference is between an independent biker and a club biker. Well, the reason I'm an independent rider, as a biker, from the beginning, the original idea of a biker, and here's another problem with being a biker and why it's such an opinionated subject. There is what is known as the biker code. Now, the problem with that is the biker code is not a finite document. It doesn't actually exist. It's basically a set of guidelines, for the most part, that kind of depict the type of lifestyle that a biker lives. It's more of a code of ethics that's basically just handed down verbally. It's never been, there is no actual finite document that is the biker code. Now, one of the major things for the biker code is independence. The problem with that is if you join a club and you abide by their rules, you're no longer independent. That is a conflict of interest for me, and as a biker, one of the major portions of being a biker is being independent. So I have no desire, in my personal beliefs, to sacrifice my independence to be a member of one of these clubs that declare a set of rules that I have to abide by if I'm not willing to abide by any other set of rules. The biker code itself is literally just an understanding that an individual is being independent, will ride where they want, when they want, the way they want, and basically won't take any crap from anybody for doing it. That's kind of what it comes down to in a nutshell for the biker code. Now, all of that entire concept is violated by the idea of joining a group. That kind of violates that understanding to me. Now, there are some clubs, there are very few of them, and these are the only clubs that I would ever consider being part of. There are some clubs, a very few select set of clubs, that actually recognize what the biker code originally intended and accept each individual as an individual. They're basically a real club. It's just a group of independent people who agree on a particular activity that they all enjoy, and they get together and do that activity. So I don't need to be part of a club in order to share my experiences with someone who has a similar interest as mine, which is to basically just ride. That's all I want to do. It's very hard for a club not to adopt a type of gang mentality and become a biker gang. So there's also the clubs that have have started down the road of the gang mentality, but have not gone so far as to declare themselves above the law, like the 1% ones have. By putting the 1% patch on, they have accepted and declared themselves above the law. Just beneath that are the ones that still have all their own rules and regulations, which is where I have an issue, because that kind of violates the idealism of being a biker. But those at least I can accept because they're not trying to intimidate individuals into believing their rules and regulations. They're not trying to declare territory and then being physically violent in an effort to try and maintain that territory. They're not trying to basically extort money from common citizens that aren't part of their club. To me, they're the one step below the biker gangs because they're not trying to violate anybody else's rights to do what they do. But the only clubs that I would be interested are the ones that don't even restrict you. That goes back to the bylaws. Basically, you're setting up a set of laws that I have to abide by. Defeats the idea of being a biker. Being a biker in the first place was to be free, was to be independent, to be wild and crazy and do what you wanted to do. Not necessarily violating the law, but just going where you wanted to go. Riding. That was the whole point of being a biker. Someone who was a free spirit, who liked to ride motorcycles, and basically that was their lifestyle. They were on the back of a bike 90% of the time, going from place to place, never claiming one specific area as their own. They basically just kept moving on. That, to me, was what I knew many, many years ago. Those were the bikers that I recognized and that were in my life at the time. And that's where I learned about the biker lifestyle, was bikers that just were free roaming, free spirits, on the back of motorcycles, going from place to place, but they weren't out to hurt anybody. Their main purpose was just to see everything they could see on the back of their motorcycle. That's all they cared about. To me, old school means something different than what most bikers mean when they say old school. To me, the old school bikers were very independent individuals. Even then, there were still clubs at the time, but the clubs were not quite so drastically tight-fist. A lot of the clubs now, one of the things I have a problem with is the whole secret society mentality. Basically, everything has to be quiet and secret, and we can't talk about it. But if you didn't have a club doesn't need that kind of security. A club would be proud of what they are. They would simply just tell the world, this is a club. We enjoy riding motorcycles. That's all we do. There would be nothing to hide. So that's kind of why I feel that there's a difference between a motorcycle gang and a motorcycle club. But even still, as I've said, there's even a difference between the types of clubs. Because there's some clubs there are very few clubs that actually respect the independent nature of a biker. That's kind of where I'm going with that. And the way the biker code is kind of understood is that the individual has to be self-reliant, a strong individual who isn't going to take crap off of nobody, but isn't looking to hurt anybody either. Basically, they just are a person who enjoys riding their motorcycle, wants to be free and independent, and basically is hardcore enough to where they can survive on their own. And if bad things happen, they're able to handle themselves. That's kind of what the biker code indicates for a biker. And as I said, a club doesn't really support that idealism. Very few clubs, there are very few of them, I have seen them, but there are very few that actually respect the independent nature of a biker. Most clubs have a certain set of rules and guidelines that they have to go by, which basically eliminates the independent nature of a biker. If you're being forced to abide by a certain set of rules and regulations, that's not being independent. Once you develop the group mentality, to me then you're no longer, if you watch my video on what I consider a biker, if you've developed that group mentality, then you're no longer independent. And being independent is one of the things that I say defines you as a biker to me. So there are some clubs, again, like I said, that will respect that independent nature of a biker. And I don't have a problem with those clubs. Those are the only clubs that I would even consider being part of. But most of the time, most clubs are stuck to that basic design of where there's rules and regulations, where you have to follow these in order to be considered a loyal member of our club. And to me, that defeats the purpose of the independent nature of a biker. So that's kind of where I have a difference of opinion. there's some people that have said that the difference between an independent person and a club person is dedication, because they lack the dedication necessary to do what's necessary to be part of a club. If that's the way you want to look at it, then so be it. I just don't have the dedication necessary to sacrifice my independence to be whatever it is they want me to be. If that's how you want to look at it, go ahead. To me, I don't think that's a lack of dedication. It's just the fact that I'm not dedicated to whatever they think I should be. To me, honestly, in my opinion, there's an equal, if not more, amount of dedication to being independent because of the fact of basically the amount of things that I give up by not being part of a club. The safety factor, obviously, being independent, there's a big difference in safety. Because as riding by myself, if I ever get approached by a club or a gang, I'm on my own. So to me, there is a big difference when it comes to a matter of dedication. I think independent people, independent bikers, are equally as dedicated to their lifestyle as club bikers are dedicated to their club. So that's the difference for me. It's just a matter of where you place that dedication. I'm more dedicated to my lifestyle as a biker than I am willing to be dedicated to a club's set of rules and regulations. That's the difference for me. Like I said, it's always a matter of opinion. I consider myself a biker simply because, like I said in my previous video, what is a biker? I consider myself a biker because I follow all the criteria myself of what I use to identify someone else as a biker. So it's just a matter of opinion. I consider myself, I stay independent as an independent biker because to me it is the purest form of being a biker. It's the only way that you can truly honor what the original idea of the biker code intended to declare as the biker lifestyle. But that's just my opinion. So, like I said, there are some clubs that I would even consider joining just because they recognize that independent nature of a biker, and they don't put unnecessary rules and regulations. Basically, they are a club where everybody just enjoys a common activity, and they all just get together to engage in that common activity. That's a true club to me. There is no arbitrary rules and regulations that tell you how you can think, when you can ride, where you can ride, how you can ride, what you can ride, any of that. That's completely unnecessary as far as I'm concerned, because to me, a biker doesn't have any of those pre-qualifications in the first place. So that's just my opinion. If you guys have any questions or comments, just leave them right here on the page, and I'll answer them as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Live free, ride free, keep your knees in the breeze.